Everywhere, there was blood, the acrid stench of burnt flesh mingling with the metallic tang. Dr. Samuel Reed's nostrils flared as he crouched over the battered body of Princess Lia, ignoring the frantic shouts and chaos erupting around them. The alien princess, barely recognizable, was maimed beyond belief, her blue blood spurting from horrific wounds onto the polished marble floor. Her parents, the king and queen, were already dead, torn apart by the anti-bomb that left Lia's coming-of-age celebration in tatters. Dignitaries screamed in fear. Guards rushed to protect the Alkan elite, while their princess lay dying, ignored and abandoned. Humanity's position was precarious, barely tolerated on the Alkan homeworld of Alaria. Dr. Reed, the lone human surgeon permitted to practice in Alkan space, knew that any perceived misstep could spell disaster for Earth's tenuous diplomatic ties. But he couldn't just let the princess perish. Gritting his teeth, he pressed his hands into the worst of her wounds, blood spurting between his fingers as he fought to staunch the bleeding with primitive first aid equipment. Alien hands grabbed at him, trying to drag him away from Lia, disgusted that an inferior human dared to lay hands on royalty. He shrugged them off, focused only on keeping the princess alive until the Alkan medics arrived. But even the best Alkan doctors were helpless in the face of her devastating injuries. Their knowledge and equipment were meant for Alkan physiology, not the shrapnel-mutilated wreck that Lia had become. They argued and hesitated, precious seconds ticking by as the princess slipped closer to death with each labored breath. Dr. Reed knew there was only one chance to save her now. He demanded access to the human medical technology he had brought for the trade negotiations, far more advanced than the Alkan realized. It violated every Alaria law for a human to utilize his foreign tech on their planet, let alone on their future ruler. But Lia would die without it. Dr. Reed had come prepared to demonstrate the marvels of human medicine, armed with 3D organ printers, regenerative nanobots, synthetic skin, and artificial blood, never imagining he would need to use them like this. The Alkan doctors resisted until Lia's vital signs began plummeting into oblivion. Left with no choice, they watched in horrified awe as the human and his machines fought to drag Lia back from the brink of death's abyss. For the next 18 hours, Dr. Reed pushed himself past the point of exhaustion, relentless force of sheer determination and medical genius battling to save the alien princess. He rebuilt her organs from scratch, microscopic robots knitting ruptured blood vessels and shattered bones back together, pumping her full of artificial blood to replace what she'd lost. The Alkan could only look on in mute astonishment as the primitive human technology they dismissed as useless trinkets slowly stabilized Lia, pulling her back from the precipice when their medicine had failed. When Lia finally regained consciousness days later, she awoke to a world where nothing would ever be the same. Her parents were dead, her life saved by a single human when her own people had abandoned her. Everything she thought she knew about Earth and humanity had been a lie. A lone human doctor succeeded where the finest Alkan physicians could not. As the new queen, Lia's first act was to elevate humans to favored allies. Dr. Reed had bought humanity's place in the stars with Lia's blood and the miracle of human science. Their civilization's fates were now inextricably linked, the disgraced human surgeon and the alien queen who owed him everything. Days turned into weeks as Lia slowly mended under Dr. Reed's watchful eye. He guided her through grueling physical therapy sessions, coaxing atrophied muscles back to life and teaching her to walk again on shaky, uncertain legs. Through it all, Lia peppered him with endless questions about Earth and humanity, her eyes alight with curiosity as he shared tales of human ingenuity and grit. "Your people have accomplished so much with so little," Lia marveled as Dr. Reed helped her stretch her newly reconstructed knee. To build entire worlds from dust and drive, it's humbling. The Alkan have grown complacent, resting on the laurels of our ancestors' achievements. Dr. Reed smiled wryly. Necessity is the mother of invention, as they say on Earth. When you're light years from home with no one to rely on but yourselves, you learn to make do and innovate. The tech I used to save you. We developed it for frontier colonies that might go years between supply shipments. There's no room for waste or extravagance when lives are on the line. Lia shook her head in disbelief. And yet you bring such miracles to the stars, freely offering to share them with us. I see now how wrong we were to dismiss humanity as primitives. There is so much we could learn from you if only my people could see past their own prejudices. But even as understanding blossomed between them, Dr. Reed could feel the weight of suspicious glares boring into his back whenever he walked the palace halls. Alkan nobles whispered behind their hands, their faces twisting with disdain as he passed. He knew it was only a matter of time before their simmering resentment boiled over into open accusation. When the hammer fell, it was just as he feared. Lia was locked away, torn from his care, and placed under guard to protect her from his vile human influence. Never mind that he had saved her life twice over now, rebuilding her body from the ashes of tragedy. To the Alkan, he would always be a threat, a corruptive taint seeking to warp their princess's mind with his foreign ways. Confined to the human compound, Dr. Reed paced like a caged animal, his mind churning with helpless fury. He knew Lia was still fragile, her immune system weakened by the massive trauma she'd endured. Without proper monitoring and care, she was a ripe target for opportunistic infection. The Alkan doctors, for all their vaunted superiority, had no notion of post-operative care for such extensive injuries. If Lia fell ill now, they'd be just as helpless as they were the night of the bombing. When the smuggled note arrived, Dr. Reed's blood ran cold with dread. Scrawled in Lia's shaky hand, it confirmed his worst fears. Lia was sick, burning with fever as infection ravaged her barely healed body. The Alkan physicians were worse than useless, insisting on plying her with traditional remedies that did nothing to halt the bacterium's relentless advance. She was dying by inches, and they were too proud and stubborn to admit they were failing her again. Dr. Reed crumpled the note in his fist, his teeth clenched with tenacity. He had to reach her, had to save her before the Alkan doctor's pig-headedness killed the princess he'd fought so hard to save. Lia was depending on him. Humanity's future hinged on him. Failure was not an option. Dr. Reed would save Lia, even if he had to fight his way through every guard in the palace to do it. The Alkan had no idea what lengths a human would go to save a life, but they were about to find out. Dr. Reed's fingers flew across the keypad, inputting the override codes he'd memorized during his time in the palace. The door to the human compound slid open with a soft hiss. He glanced at Dr. Collins, who nodded grimly. "I'll buy you as much time as I can," Collins said, his voice low. "Just get to her." Reed slipped out into the night, his heart pounding. The Alkan servant's robes felt alien against his skin as he made his way through the shadowy streets. Every rustle of leaves made him flinch, expecting to be discovered at any moment. At the palace gates, he kept his head down as he passed the guards, their eyes sliding over him, seeing only another faceless servant. Inside, he navigated the labyrinthine corridors, relying on muscle memory from countless rehabilitation sessions with Lia. A hand grabbed his arm, and Reed nearly cried out, but it was Nira, one of Lia's handmaidens. "This way," she whispered, leading him through a hidden passage. "The princess is fading fast." When they reached Lia's chambers, the stench of sickness hit Reed like a physical blow. Lia lay on her bed, her skin ashen, her breath coming in ragged gasps. The Alkan doctors huddled nearby, muttering amongst themselves as they mixed useless poultices. Reed pushed past them, ignoring their indignant squawks. He pressed his hand to Lia's forehead, feeling the heat radiating off her in waves. Her eyes fluttered open, unfocused and glassy with fever. "I'm here," he said, already unpacking his smuggled supplies. "I'm going to make you better." The Alkan physicians protested as Reed began administering a cocktail of human antibiotics and Alkan anti-inflammatories. He worked tirelessly through the night, monitoring Lia's vitals and adjusting dosages as needed. Every cough, every labored breath felt like a personal failure. As dawn's light began to filter through the windows, Lia's fever finally broke. Reed sagged with relief, exhaustion washing over him. He barely registered the commotion at the door as Alkan guards burst in. The guards hesitated, torn between their duty to protect the princess and their ingrained distrust of humans. Lia used their momentary confusion to her advantage. "He has saved my life again," she said weakly, but with authority. while our own physicians stood by helplessly. She turned to Reed, her eyes softening. "You have my eternal gratitude, Doctor, and my promise that humans will always have a place here." The guards glanced at each other uncertainly, then slowly lowered their weapons. The Alkan physicians, chastened and humbled, backed away, unable to refute the evidence of Reed's success. In the days that followed, Lia's recovery was swift and steady under Dr. Reed's vigilant care. News of his miraculous intervention spread like wildfire throughout Alaria, igniting debates and challenging long-held prejudices against humanity. Lia's proclamation of humans as favored allies was met with both praise and resistance, but she stood firm, her resolve unshakable. Dr. Reed, once a pariah, found himself at the center of a burgeoning alliance. His medical technology was eagerly studied and integrated into Alkan practices, leading to unprecedented advancements in healthcare. Earth and Alaria began to exchange knowledge and resources, forging a bond that strengthened both civilizations. Months later, at a grand ceremony in the heart of Alaria, Queen Lia stood beside Dr. Reed, her once fragile body now a testament to the resilience and ingenuity of both their peoples. She addressed the gathered dignitaries and citizens, her voice strong and clear. "Today, we celebrate not only my survival but the dawn of a new era of cooperation and understanding. Dr. Samuel Reed, a human, saved my life when all seemed lost. He showed us that true strength lies not in our differences but in our willingness to work together. Let this be the beginning of a brighter future for Alkan and human alike." The crowd erupted in applause, their cheers echoing through the hall. Dr. Reed, humbled and honored, bowed deeply to Lia, their eyes meeting in a silent acknowledgement of the journey they had shared. As the festivities continued, Dr. Reed couldn't help but feel a sense of profound fulfillment. He had come to Alaria as an outsider, but now he stood as a bridge between worlds, a living symbol of hope and unity. And as he looked out at the mingling faces of humans and Alkan, he knew that together they would reach for the stars, their destinies forever intertwined. The palace buzzed with the excitement of a new era, but beneath the surface of unity and progress, shadows of dissent began to form. Not everyone on Alaria embraced the newfound alliance with humanity. Whispers of conspiracy and rebellion echoed through the corridors, fueled by those who feared change and the loss of Alkan's supremacy. Dr. Samuel Reed, now a celebrated figure, worked tirelessly to integrate human technology with Alkan medicine. He spent long hours in the newly established Interworld Medical Center, where human and Alkan doctors collaborated on groundbreaking research. Despite the progress, he couldn't shake a lingering unease, a sense that not all was well in the heart of Alaria. One evening, as Reed finished his rounds and prepared to leave the center, he noticed a figure lurking in the shadows. It was Captain Nira, head of Queen Lia's personal guard. Her face was tense, her eyes darting around as if she were being watched. "Dr. Reed," she said in a low voice, beckoning him into a secluded corner. "We need to talk. It's urgent." Reed's heart skipped a beat. "What's going on, Captain?" Nira glanced over her shoulder before speaking. "There are factions within Alaria that see you, and humanity, as a threat. They believe our alliance weakens us. I've heard whispers of an imminent coup. We must be cautious." Reed's mind raced. "Does Lia know?" Nira shook her head. "Not yet. I wanted to confirm the rumors before alarming her. But I need your help. There's someone who claims to have information, an insider within the resistance. We need to meet them tonight." Reed nodded, determination settling in his gut. "Where do we meet?" Later that night, Reed and Nira made their way through the winding streets of Alaria's capital, cloaked in the darkness and the anonymity of hoods. They arrived at an unassuming tavern on the outskirts of the city, slipping inside and moving to a secluded booth at the back. A hooded figure was already waiting for them. The figure lifted their head, revealing the face of an Alkan woman with piercing blue eyes. "My name is Talia," she said. "I am part of the resistance, but I don't share their beliefs. I believe in Queen Lia's vision and the alliance with humanity. There are those who are plotting to overthrow her. They plan to strike during the upcoming summit with Earth representatives." Reed's stomach churned. The summit was meant to solidify their alliance, a symbol of their shared future. What can we do to stop them? Talia leaned in closer. The leaders of the coup will meet tomorrow night in the old catacombs beneath the city. If you can capture them and present their plans to the Queen, we might prevent the coup and save the Alliance. Nira's eyes narrowed. It's a trap. If we go in unprepared, we'll be walking into an ambush. Talia nodded. I can guide you through the catacombs, show you the secret paths they use. But we must act swiftly and silently. Reed and Nira exchanged a look. There was no turning back now. We have to inform Lia, Reed said. She needs to know what's at stake. Queen Lia listened intently as Reed and Nira relayed Talia's information. Her face remained calm, but Reed could see the worry in her eyes. If what you say is true, we are all in grave danger. We must act with caution. She summoned her most trusted advisors and devised a plan. Under the cover of night, a select group of loyal guards would accompany Reed, Nira, and Talia into the catacombs. They would capture the leaders of the coup and present them to the Alkan Council before the summit began. As the night deepened, the group descended into the ancient catacombs, guided by Talia's knowledge of the secret paths. The air was damp and cold, the silence broken only by the distant sound of dripping water. Reed's heart pounded in his chest, each step bringing them closer to danger. They reached a large, dimly lit chamber where a group of Alkan conspirators had gathered, their voices hushed and tense. Reed, Nira, and the guards moved swiftly, surrounding the group and taking them by surprise. You're all under arrest for treason against the crown, Nira declared, her voice echoing through the chamber. The conspirators, caught off guard, tried to fight back, but they were quickly subdued. As they were led away in chains, Reed felt a sense of relief wash over him. They had averted the immediate threat, but the battle for Alaria's future was far from over. The next morning, the captured conspirators were presented to the Alkan Council, their treacherous plans laid bare. Queen Lia addressed the council, her voice strong and resolute. We stand at a crossroads, she said. We can either succumb to fear and division, or we can embrace a future of cooperation and mutual respect. Dr. Reed and Captain Nira have shown us the strength that lies in unity. Let us honor their courage and commit ourselves to the path of progress. The council, swayed by Lia's words and the evidence of the conspiracy, voted to support the alliance with humanity. The summit proceeded as planned, with representatives from Earth and Alaria signing a historic treaty of friendship and cooperation. As the ceremony concluded, Reed stood beside Lia, feeling a renewed sense of hope. But in the back of his mind, he knew that the shadows of resistance still lingered. There would be more challenges ahead, more battles to fight. For now, though, they had won a crucial victory. And as he looked out at the faces of humans and Alkans mingling together, he knew that their shared future was worth every sacrifice. The story of Dr. Samuel Reed and Queen Lia was just beginning, and together, they would face whatever came next.